feet standing on the floor to start with. If you can always have your legs long if you prefer, Nigel. It's completely up to you. But what I thought we would do is just, yes, arrive on your back, see how you feel, and then maybe, yes, you could do some of those little movements. So either rolling your head from to the left, side to side, to the left and to the right, and just easing out the back of the neck. And then the other one is, as you were doing, Linda, was letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. So you can do either or both of these movements. So just this sort of arriving, settling. And it might be that you don't feel that you want to do any little movements. You just want to have a couple of quiet breaths. So I'm suggesting these possibilities, but it might be that you just want to feel the weight of your body resting on the ground and feel the movement of your breath within you. Yes, and that's it, Sheila. You could add together, if you like, the two movements. So you could be rolling your head and tilting your knees at the same time, if that doesn't feel too like too much to start with on a Monday morning. Good. And so whatever you're doing, whether you're just lying quietly and feeling the movement of your breath through your body, or whether you're tilting your knees or rolling your head, just starting to have a sense of how your body feels on this rather cold morning, so that we can, as Linda's obviously had an injury from a bike accident, so for however our bodies are feeling today, we can work in a way that's helpful for us rather than harmful. So what we're going to do first of all is fold our knees into our chest, and we're going to do Apanasana 6 times. This is where we bring our hands onto our knees. And so yeah, bring your hands onto your knees and have your fingers pointing towards your toes. And this is as much about your breathing as the movement. So as you breathe in, you're going to move your knees away from your chest, and as you let your arms straighten. And as you exhale, keep your feet still, Elaine. So your feet, you just keep your heels relaxed towards your bottom. So the knees are moving away from your chest, but yeah, your feet are not moving. So as you breathe in, your knees move away from your chest. And as you exhale, your knees fold in towards your chest. But as you breathe in and take the knees away from you, don't let your hands slide off your knees, yeah? Exhale, let the knees fold in towards your chest. Think about a long inhalation and also particularly a long exhalation. That's very nice, good. And so Apanasana works very much on in traditional yoga texts, we talk about the apana energy, which is the energy of the belly and the abdomen. So we're really working on that area. It also can feel nice for the lower back. So just seeing where you are, might be 4 times now. So it might be 2 more times, breathing in, taking the knees away from you, exhaling, folding the knees in towards your chest. Lovely. Very nice. Good. Good. Okay, so when you think you've done that 6 times, then just hug around the top of your knees for a moment. Good. That's it. You can rock a little from side to side if you like. And then what you're going to do from here is keep one knee folded into your chest. So keep supporting that knee with your hands and lengthen the other leg out on the floor. And just keep folding that one knee in towards your chest. And then with the long leg, you could roll that leg a little bit on the floor. So we're just thinking about what can we do for the long leg to really let go and feel heavy on the ground. So that's it. You might roll it, you might bounce the knee. Good. And then just have a couple of breaths here. So this is a position that I really like. I think it always feels nice for the lower back. And then we're opening out in the front of one hip joint. Very nice. So let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. One more time, have one more cycle of breath there, and then we'll swap sides. We'll fold the long leg in, we'll lengthen out the bent leg. That's it. So swapping sides, seeing how it feels on the other side. So again, holding around the knee that you folded in towards your chest. Really just keeping, use the weight of your arms to help the knee settle in towards you. That's it. That's nice. And a little bit of rolling or shaking or bouncing the leg that's on the floor, the long leg. So again, this feeling of trying to just really give the weight of that leg to the ground. That's very nice. And then a couple of breaths there, letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave you. See how it feels for you to be in this position. So although I say, oh, this is something I really love, it might not be something that you're so keen on for your body. And that's fine. Good. So maybe one more cycle of breath here. Feel your breath come in, feel your breath leave you. And then you can lengthen the bent leg out on the ground. So see how it feels to lie with two long legs for a moment. And again, any little movements you want to do for your legs to help them feel heavy and relaxed. So bouncing your knees, rolling your legs. So just this sense that we give the weight of our legs to the ground as much as possible. And then let a breath come in. Aditi, both legs, I don't know whether you've frozen actually, that's it. No, you still had your leg folded in. Okay, both legs on the ground. And then from here, it's up to you. You could stay with both legs long. What I was going to suggest is that we fold both knees back in towards the chest. And then we take the arms and legs up to the ceiling and give them a shake out. So yeah, in your own time, you can fold both knees in towards your chest, then you can take your arms and legs up to the ceiling, give them a bit of a shake out. And it looks to me that possibly your Zoom is failing, even though I can't. Yes, good. Okay, you've unfrozen. So arms and legs up towards the ceiling, a bit of a shake out, and then bring your feet back onto back to stand on the floor. And you're going to cross your arms over your chest. So the last little thing we're going to do now, arms crossed over the chest. And now start to rock from side to side. So let your elbows and your knees and your head all rock to the right and then to the left. That's it. So sort of this rocking side to side across the back of our body, giving ourselves a little bit of a massage. You can make the movement as large or as small as you like. Good. And that really, really depends on, again, how are you feeling? Do you want to do a larger movement or is a smaller movement better for you? Good. And from here, you can carry on rocking a few more times. But from here, you're going to roll onto one side, whichever side feels more comfortable, and just have a couple of breaths on your side before we move on from lying down, which I know is always a little bit of a shock. So a few breaths on your side, just make yourself comfortable. And then from your side, we're going to be coming into cobbler pose. So just rather briefly, we're going to visit cobbler pose and pinwheel. And then we're going to move into standing. So I think when I was practicing yesterday and planning this class, I was just being, very much led by what I thought felt good. My rather stiff and achy body. So you can start in your cobbler pose, leaning back onto your arms. That's it, letting your knees fall out, it doesn't matter. Linda, yes, I don't know how this will be. Maybe you'll be all right because it seems to be the front of your shin. Okay, good. And you can obviously walk your hands in a little bit in cobbler pose. And then whenever you're ready, let one knee come on top of the other knee. So we come through our side sitting and on into pinwheel. And again, Linda, I think you just, you'll have to adjust and see how this is. Good. And then a little bit of circling. Good, good. So seeing how this feels. So we're moving on now to just really focusing in a little bit, I suppose, into the pelvis, into the hip joints. How do they feel, again, on this rather cold Monday morning? Good, a little bit of circling. And we'll come to our pinwheel forward bend because that can be quite a nice place to be to start to let the lower back lengthen out. So if you turn towards your knee that's going out to the side and then fold your body down over that leg and just see where you come to comfortably. You don't need to push anything, But see if you can find a place where it feels enjoyable to be, and you could maybe gather your attention into your breathing for 3 cycles of breath. So just this, yeah, focusing in on the breathing, feeling your breath come in, feeling your breath leaving you. And just giving yourself time, so that sense that we slow down, we settle, we feel the movement of the breath. And then let's walk the hands back in. Let's slide the back leg on top of the leg we just folded over. So back through side sitting, I'm leaning onto that arm, opening the legs out through cobbler pose, and then leaning onto the other hand and arm so we can move on to the other side of side sitting. Slide the top leg back. That's it. And coming to a bit of pinwheel circling on this side. So again, we're using pinwheel just to start to perhaps work into any of that tightness we might feel around the hip joints, into the lower back. Good. And really up to you, moving in a way that feels helpful for you. And whenever you like, you can come on into the forward bend. So turning your body, lining up your body with that knee and that thigh that's going out to the side, folding your body down over the leg, gathering your attention into your breathing. So again, we'll have 3 cycles of breath on this side. So letting yourself settle and quieten so you can feel the movement of your breath in your body. Maybe 1 more cycle of breath, and then slowly starting to walk your hands in towards you. And this time when you come back up, you could lean back on your hands and just give your legs a little bit of a lengthen out. And then we're going to come up into standing, and we're going to start to move in standing. So I would just, yes, come up into standing however is comfortable. And we're going to start with some shouldery things, just some loosening up things. I think when I was practicing yesterday, I was feeling very sort of creaky around the shoulders. So, yes, up in standing. Good. We're going to start with this one, our sort of loose, easy, swinging twist. So keep it easy. You can obviously move your feet is good. Swinging the arms. Seeing how this feels. How do your shoulders feel today? I think the cold weather can often mean we're a bit huddly, get a bit tight there. Okay, the Monday bin lorry is arriving if it suddenly goes noisy. Okay, a few more times. You can slap your arms onto your body. Good. And then what we're going to do is focus a little bit more in on each individual arm and shoulder. Now, really don't push these. And Aditi, I don't know how your shoulder is at the moment, but yeah, make sure you're not pushing it. So we're going to be doing these ones where we're doing a big circle with one arm. Now, I'm letting my pelvis move, yeah? So feel that you can move the rest of your body. And also feel that your circle doesn't have to be huge, yeah? It could be a smaller circle. And also what I'm doing is I'm changing the direction. So I do a few going one way and a few going the other. So don't do a huge circling, you know, don't do a movement. If it's starting, you start to think, oh, that doesn't feel so good. But yes, the more you can let the whole of your body come along. Good. Okay. And we can swap on to the other arm. So you can always think about these more as just actually exploring your range of movement in your arms. How does it feel? and backing away. So I'm sort of easing in between each one. I'm just letting my arms swing, and then I'm coming on to another one. And then maybe going back the other way. So one direction's like backstroke, isn't it? The other direction is like front crawl. Good. Okay. Lovely. Okay. And then we're going to come back to a few more arm things in a moment, but I want us to just do a couple of forward bends. And some of you, I think the last classes I taught Thursday and Friday a week ago, we were thinking about this really rounding and softening into a forward bend. So you've got your feet a little distance apart. We're starting with our hand on our breastbone, and we're starting by looking down at the floor, letting our shoulders roll in, letting our knees bend. So we're really rounding forwards into a forward bend. And we could bring our elbows onto our thighs to start with, just to be in that sort of half forward bend, checking how the lower back feels. And if that feels fine, then you can carry on releasing your arms to the floor, but quite nice to keep the knees quite bent, even so that maybe your chest comes close to your thighs. So just in a really soft, easy forward bend, trying to feel nice and rounded through the back of your body. Have a cycle of breath in your forward bend. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. Next time you exhale, roll back up into standing, or even walk your hands up the front of your thighs if you need to support your back, and stay very rounded. Good. And we'll try that one more time. So just this idea of going into a forward bend, but really going with these sort of rounding movements, which is perhaps what we want to do at the moment when we're a bit cold and we're huddling up. So hand on the breastbone, you let your shoulders roll forwards, you look down. I like to then start to let my knees bend. So I'm really trying to let my back round. And I'm coming to this halfway point, elbows on my thighs, thinking, oh, my back's really rounded. Feels quite nice in the lower back. And then I can go on, perhaps releasing my arms to the floor, letting my head go, keeping my knees really quite bent. Just, yeah, think how you can come into this forward bend, feeling very soft, very curved through your spine. Good. Have a cycle of breath in your forward bend. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. And then again, as you exhale, rolling back up into standing, or walking your hands up the fronts of your legs. Good. Very nice. So we'll come back to those, but let's do a few more things, sort of arms and shoulders. So bring your hands into prayer pose in front of your chest. And we're going to swing our arms out to the sides. So just make sure, perhaps before you start swinging your arms, you have space to do that. So Elaine, we seem to have coordinated today, which is very nice with our green. So hands in front of you, let a breath come in. As you exhale, take your arms down and then up, and then start to swing your arms so you're crossing them in front of your chest. And try to just really let the arms hang as much as possible. That's it. So it's a nice chance to let the arms be heavy and floppy. And in a moment, you're going to give yourself a hug. And I think maybe have your right arm on top, because then if you just do that, you won't have to worry about it. So you're in this place where you're giving yourself a hug and you're dropping your shoulders down away from your ears. So to start with, we're not going any further than this time. What I'd like you to do is can you just turn your shoulders to the right and to the left a little without moving your pelvis? Just see how possible it is to do a little bit of a twist here. It's not going to be a huge one. And also, how does that feel in the shoulders and the upper back if you do that? Good. Okay. And then release your arms for a moment. Good. And then bring the hands back to prayer pose. So we'll swing the arms again, and then we'll give ourselves a hug with the left arm on top. So let a breath come in. Exhale, take the arms down and then up, and then come to swinging the arms again, crossing them in front of yourself. Good. And again, try to have this feeling of sort of floppy, loose, free arms. And when you're ready, give yourself a hug with your left arm on top. And then drop your shoulders down away from your ears. A couple of big exhalations. And again, what's it like to turn a little bit? So the pelvis stays facing forwards. We see if we can turn our shoulders and our elbows to the right and to the left. So it's quite a small movement. Don't do anything that sort of feels it's pulling around your shoulders. Okay. Can release that. We're going to, yeah, let's come into another forward bend and then we'll go a little bit further with that one. So again, hand on your breastbone, that looking down, letting your shoulders roll forwards, bending your knees, coming down. You can stop off in that halfway point, elbows on your thighs if you like, or release your arms all the way down into a forward bend. Have the knees nice and bent. So we're really sort of soft curve through the back of the body, letting the head go. Having a cycle or two of breath in your forward bend. And then making your way back up as you exhale. Very nice. Good. And then let a breath come in and take your arms wide out to the side. Good. And again, you're going to, from here, give yourself a hug with your right arm on top. And we're going to go on into our eagle arms. We're not going to go into a forward bend. We're just going to, again, do a little bit of a twist here. So for some of you, it's better that you're doing this. You're supporting your top arm with the bottom arm. That's it. If you can bring your hands around, then all well and good. And again, from here, once you've come into eagle arms, can you turn a little bit? Can you turn your shoulders and your elbows a little bit to the right and to the left, but not move below the waist? And again, just make sure it's not pulling. You know, if it's pulling your shoulders across your upper back, then just back off. You can come back to hugging yourself, yeah? Okay, and then release your arms. Give your legs a little shake out as well, and we'll do the other side. So let a breath come in. Take your arms wide, feel wide in the front of your chest, and then give yourself a hug with your left arm on top. And again, remember, you could stay here. If this is better for you, stay here. If you're happy to go on into your eagle arms, you can do. Or one of the variations, perhaps you're supporting your arm with your bottom arm. And then again, see what it feels like to do those little turning movements, shoulders and elbows, moving to the right and to the left. And trying to stay planted below the waist. So yeah, it's a rather unnatural feeling. But perhaps we're really getting into some of those tight places in the upper back. Good. And then again, whenever you've had enough, you're going to release your arms, shake out the arms, shake out the legs. And then one more time, we're going to come into a forward bend before we think about a few balances. So hand on the breastbone. Can we start to look down, let the shoulders roll in, let the knees bend. Come to this really sort of long, soft curve through the back of the body, elbows on the thighs if you like. Release the arms to the floor, keep the knees bent. So when we come forward into a forward bend, we're looking to feel this feeling of sort of releasing all across the lower back of the pelvis. Obviously, it's a bit of a stretch through the back of the legs. We can always bend the knees more to ease that off a bit. And then we'll roll back up again as we exhale. Good. So I thought we would sort of build up through some balances and also explore some mudras to help us, hopefully, with our balance. So the first thing is maybe to look down at your feet, organize your feet so they're a little distance apart. And then we're going to close our eyes and do a little bit of swaying and standing. You don't have to close your eyes, but don't look at your feet now. It's a little bit of swaying from side to side and getting a sense of how yeah, how it would feel to stand on your right foot, how would it feel to balance on your left foot. And you're going to choose which foot you'd like to start with, as you'll probably know. Let your shoulders and arms just be really soft and relaxed. So we're sort of coming to focus on the feet now, but we'll also be adding in the mudras, so focus on the hands. So what I thought we would do now is, hopefully you've chosen which foot you're going to stand on. You could bring your hands into prayer pose, Anjali Mudra, in front of your chest. And I'm resting my thumbs on my breastbone, so it just sort of helps keep the arms out of the way. We're going to do a really simple balance. We're going to rock our weight onto our chosen foot, and we're going to bring the other foot to stand on top of the chosen foot and see how that feels. But yeah, suddenly, often a simple balance doesn't necessarily make it easy. So if you have to bring your foot back onto the floor, that's absolutely fine. But just see what it's like to settle here. And as we're settling here, can we let the shoulders soften? Can we let the elbows drop a little bit? So we're really trying to keep as sort of soft and quiet around the upper body as possible. Good. And if you have to take your foot off, that's it, back onto the floor, that's fine. Very nice. Good. Good. Well done, everyone. Okay, let's come down, have a little shake out, and then we'll do the other side. Excellent balancing. I was thinking for a moment that Zoom had frozen. So bring your hands into prayer pose again. Back in Anjali Mudra, prayer pose, thumbs resting on your breastbone. See how it feels to start to transfer your weight into your other foot. And then the foot we were just standing on comes to stand on top of that foot. That's it. Let me see how it feels on side 2. And again, let's have this focus of just really, can we soften and quieten through the shoulders and the arms? That's nice. So we can be very aware of that contact of the palms of the hands, but we can let the elbows drop. We can let the shoulders quieten. Good. Very nice. Lovely. Another breath or two. Good. Let's come down whenever you want to. And so we're going to do a couple of tree pose variations. I'm just wondering if I need to come a bit nearer so you can see. I might chop my feet off if I do that. Okay, what we're going to do, I'm just going to show you the 2 elements. So we're going to do, first of all, this tree pose where we cross one ankle in front of the other. And your toes can either be on the floor or they can come to sort of stand on the outer edge of your foot. So we cross one ankle in front of the other. I'm wobbling around everywhere. And then the mudra we're going to do, so we've crossed our ankles, we're going to do this Hakini mudra in front of us. And when I do this one, I tend not to touch my hands onto my chest. So it's quite a different feeling. So let's see how this feels. And I think maybe let's start by doing the feet and then we'll add in the mudra. So you're going to come back to your first standing foot. And then we're going to organise ourselves so we're crossing the other foot in front, the other ankle in front. And we're coming onto sort of the underside of the toes. And your toes can either be on the floor, that's quite good for steadiness, or they could come onto the outer edge of your standing foot. So once you've organised your feet, then you can bring your hands into this Hakini Mudra, where we touch the pads of all the fingers and thumbs in front of us. And yeah, I'm thinking about maybe the elbows coming down. Sometimes we have the elbows out to the side, but I'd like you to try and really have your shoulders and arms as relaxed as possible. And just see how it feels to settle here. Good. Very nice. Let the breath flow in, let the breath flow out. Lovely. Remember, we're making this sort of domed shape in our hands. Very good. Come down. I don't know about anyone else, my standing leg was starting to complain a little bit then. So let's try the other side. So we're going to shift our weight onto the other foot, and then the foot we just stood on, that ankle crosses in front of our standing leg. And we either have the underside of the toes on the floor or on the outer edge of your foot, or could even be half and half. And then bring the hands into Hakini Mudra in front of your chest. And so you've got this focus of the fingers and the thumbs touching, but we're trying to then let the shoulders and the arms be really quiet and soft. What's it like to settle here? Can we settle here? So it could be helpful to bring your awareness to that feeling of the contact of the fingers and the thumbs, and also to that intention to have quiet, soft, relaxed shoulders. Feeling the breath flow in, feeling the breath flow out. Good. Lovely. Another breath or two, and then do come down and have a little shake out. Yeah, so definitely shake out your legs. So we're going to do one more variation. And so we're going to come into more of a sort of a normal tree pose. And the mudra we're going to use, it's almost like a sort of combination of the two we've already done. It's the lotus bud mudra, where we touch the base of the hands together, and then the pads of the fingers and the thumbs. So you've got space in between, and you rest your hands on your breastbone. So there's space in between the palms and the fingers, but the base of the palms is touching in the pads. So it's very beautiful mudra. And when I was planning this class yesterday, I was thinking about, obviously we're approaching spring and the season of all things budding. So this felt appropriate. Now, we're going to come back to the first foot again. You've got some choices what you do with your other foot. So you could have your foot on your ankle, you could have your foot higher up, you could have your foot right up on your thigh. And so particularly if you are taking your foot up onto your thigh, you would have to then bring your hands into your lotus bud mudra. And so I've got my hands in this sort of bud shape, and I'm resting my thumbs on my breastbone. And again, then sort of focusing in on this feeling of softening through the shoulders. And it's really up to you. So from here, we could take our arms up and become a tree, and then we could come back to the lotus bud. So it's entirely up to you. So yes, it can feel really nice in tree pose to let the arms grow up and have this feeling of being expansive and growing and wide. Lovely. Having a couple of breaths there, and then we can gather our hands back into this beautiful lotus bud mudra at our heart, and see if we can have a few more cycles of breath here. And really let the shoulders and the arms soften and relax. That's lovely. Good. Come down, give the legs a good shake out. So this will be our last side of balancing for this next one. So again, you could, if you're going to bring your foot onto your ankle, you could start by bringing your hands into the mudra. That's always an option. But obviously, if you're going to take your foot a bit higher and catch your foot, catch your ankle, you need to use your hands and then do that, and then bring your hands into your lotus bud mudra. So while we're having a couple of breaths with the hands in the lotus bud mudra to start with, we can just have this sense that there is this, this beautiful mudra, which is this bud shape, or the promise of spring, new life, hope. And then from here we can open out, if we like, grow up into our tree, a bit expansive. That's lovely. Feel the movement of your breath through your body. Feel your awareness traveling up to your fingertips and down to your toes. And then yes, we can gather our hands back into the Lotus Bud Mudra for a final 2 or 3 cycles of breath. Good. And then finally coming down, having a bit of a shake out. So we're going to be coming down from the back of the mat, coming through a forward bend dog pose down into child pose. So Linda, you could do the dog pose, and then at that point you might want to go onto your back and fold your knees into your chest. And yeah, that might be quite good for you. So come to the back of your mat, bring your hands into prayer pose. So we'll move down a bit like the sort of beginning of sun salute. So if we start with our hands in prayer pose, we let a breath come in. As we exhale, take the arms down and then up. Let a breath come in and then rolling down into a forward bend. See how it feels to be in this last, I say last forward bend, I think it is, this class, last forward bend. Couple of breaths and then walking your hands forwards into dog pose. Now, Linda, you might need to go back into a forward bend and down through a squat, possibly, rather than down onto your knees. So everyone else from dog pose. Yeah, so Linda, actually, rather than child pose, you could, rather than on your back, you could go back into a forward bend and down into a squat. Might be quite good. So yes, what was I saying? Dog pose. As long as you like in dog pose, and then bringing your knees down, folding back into child pose. And then Linda, I think it probably would be good after your squat to come onto your back, because so child pose or kneeling, just a couple of quiet breaths. We're going to be doing some cat movements. So Linda, I think you can do these on your back. You can alternate. In fact, if I show you, you can alternate between bridge pose and this sort of little mini sit-up, and that will be quite like cat. So everyone else, when you've had maybe 3 cycles of breath in your child pose or your kneeling, we're going to come onto hands and knees. So quite often we'd end up at this point much earlier on in the class, but I thought we'd see how it feels here today. So what we're going to do on hands and knees to start with are some simple cat movements. So rounding your back to the ceiling, dipping your spine down to the floor, letting your breath flow however it wants to. Good. So just a few more times, rounding, dipping, noticing how your lower back feels, noticing how your upper back feels. And then we're going to add a little bit of rocking forwards and back with this. So you're going to round your back to the ceiling and stay rounded to rock your hips back over your heels. And then you come back onto hands and knees, dipping your spine down a little bit. So round your back to the ceiling, stay rounded, rock your hips back over your heels. Come forwards, dipping your spine down a little. So carry on with that, rounding your back to the ceiling, rocking your hips back over your heels, dipping your spine down to come forwards. Good. So it's almost like we're making a little circle. We're rounding our back, we're staying round as we rock our hips back over our heels. And then as we come forwards, we might soften our elbows a little bit so we can dip our spine down to the floor. Good. So just do this a few more times, maybe 3 more times. Rounding up, rocking back, dipping down to come forwards. And then the next time you round your back to the ceiling, you're going to rock all the way back and into child pose and stay there. So round your back to the ceiling, look back towards your feet, rock back into child pose, and just settle in child pose for a couple of breaths. So Linda, at that point, you fold your knees into your chest. So it's like you're doing child pose on your back. And again, just a couple of quiet breaths in child pose. And then Linda, what it might be quite good for you to do now is to come into bridge pose and just stay in bridge pose for a few breaths and see how that feels. And you could try with your arms beside your head as well. So the rest of you, what you're going to do here from child pose is slide your arms forwards on the floor. So your elbows come off the ground and then come up onto hands and knees. So you're in this longer hands and knees position. Yeah, so our hands are further forwards than our shoulders. And you're just going to start to do a little bit of rocking forwards. So not necessarily going all the way into face up dog, but rocking your pelvis forward. So you're starting to take your weight more through your arms and you're letting your pelvis come forwards and you're just sort of seeing how does that feel. And it might be that it's super easy and you can go all the way into face up dog. But let's, before we do go sort of fully into face up dog, we'll do a lunge. And Linda, you can do what I call a lunge on your back. So those of you who are on hands and knees, step one foot between your hands. Linda, you can, that's it, fold one knee into your chest and lengthen the other leg out on the floor. And then what you start to do is keep your thigh close to your chest, but bring the sole of your foot towards the ceiling. That's it, yeah, and you might catch your foot or your big toe or your ankle. Good. So those of you who are on hands and knees, having a few breaths in your lunge. So we're coming to this feeling of opening out through the front of the thigh. Yes, and if you're someone who likes to rock forwards and back in this a bit, and again, Linda, you could then obviously relax your lower leg and then sort of, that's it, bring it back up again. So yes, if you prefer in your lunge to do a bit of rocking forwards and back, then by all means do that. And what we're going to do, those people who are on hands and knees, and Linda obviously swapping sides, is we're going to do both sides of lunge, and then we'll come into another dog pose. So Linda, you might feel that if you've had enough on your back and you want to come over and do some more dog, you'll need to go in from a forward bend into dog. So swap sides. Yeah, so Linda, you could do forward bend, dog, back into forward bend, down into a squat again. Okay, so second side of lunge, if you feel that you want to do a little bit of easing in and out, you can do. Good. And then it's really your choice. So you can go directly from lunge into dog pose if you like, or come onto hands and knees and then go into a dog pose. And just see how it feels to have a bit of a lengthen out in another dog pose. Obviously, you know, all the things we can do in dog to help us ease into dog, bending one knee, bending both knees. Yes, so Linda, you can go back from dog pose into a forward bend, down through a squat if that's all right in your leg. So the rest of you obviously stay in your dog as long as you like. But when you come out of dog, you can just come into kneeling, and it could be up kneeling, this is fine, you can be up or down kneeling, so that you can shake your hands out. So either be sort of, yeah, this sort of kneeling or this sort of kneeling. And then we're going to come to, and actually Linda, yes, if you want, yes, maybe you could do a little bit more dog, but if you wanted to do some side bending, you could do it either on your back or on your side. So first of all, on hands and knees, come to a little bit of tail wagging. Okay, so a little little bit of tail wagging. Then we're going to use our tail wagging to take us back into child pose and forwards into face up dog. So we need to have a little bit more distance between our hands and knees. So you might want to walk your hands further forwards. And then start to wag your tail back to child pose and wag your tail forwards to face up dog. Good. And just in your own time, maybe 3 or 4 times, moving with this tail wagging movement forwards into face up dog and backwards into, yes, you could be doing that. Yes, Linda, you could be going directly from, from dog into face up dog. Very, very well done. Good, good. Just, yeah, in your own time exploring this movement. And at some point, I'd like you to do one more dog pose. So it might be that you do your 3 or 4 face up dogs, you have a breath or 2 in child pose, and then you come into dog. And then you could even try another face up dog. So what I was going to say, the main thing is, yes, just make sure you don't overdo it with your wrists. So at some point you might want to come into kneeling, bring the backs of your wrists together, give them a little bit of a wiggle. Okay. So yes, have a lengthen out. Let's lengthen out in dog pose. And as Linda was doing, it depends. I mean, it can be very nice if you come into a long dog pose to try going all the way into your face up dog from dog pose. And then you might end up, untucking your toes, bringing your feet onto the ground. Very nice. And then perhaps just a quiet breath or 2 in child pose. Lovely. Good. So if you feel the urge to do another face up dog, if you haven't done, or even another dog pose, then you have a moment to do this. If you feel you want to come and sit in kneeling or sit on your bottom, Linda, and bring the backs of your wrists together. Very nice. Lovely. Beautiful. In a moment, we're going to come and, so Linda, you'll have this chance to see what it's like to lie on your belly. We're going to come to lie on our belly. And we're just going to do a couple of simple familiar movements, a little bit of breathing on our belly before we come over onto our backs. So make your way down onto your belly. And make yourself as comfortable as possible. So, I've got one hand on top of the other and my cheek resting on the back of my hands. It might be if your head's turned in one direction, you have your cheek resting on the back of the hand and the other arms down by your side. Just make yourself comfortable on your front. And the first thing you're going to do is give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle. So Linda, I hope you look like you're okay there. So yeah, good. Okay, good to know. So give your pelvis a little bit of a wiggle. And then just settle quietly on your front. And I'd like you to see, if, again, as we've done in some other positions, gather your attention into your breathing and have 3 cycles of breath. So where you're feeling this sort of filling of the inhalation, emptying of the out breath. And if you imagine or even try to sense that it's the back of your body, so we actually have more lung capacity in the back of our body, in our back ribs. So as you breathe in, can you feel or imagine your back ribs widening and expanding? Good. And when you've had those 3 cycles of breath, you can then bend your knees and take the soles of your feet towards the ceiling. So I think you all know this movement. And Linda, hopefully this one's okay. If it isn't, then bring your feet back down. That's it. And then let your feet tilt from side to side. That's nice. Good. Good. Oh, yes, very, very good. Lovely. That's it. And then what you're going to do from here, you can do a bit more of this movement if you like. You look like you're rather enjoying yourselves. And what you're going to do from here is then bring your lower legs back onto the floor and just have 3 more cycles of breath. So again, this sort of gathering your attention into your breathing. And again, maybe having your awareness in the back of your rib cage. And just imagining or feeling or sensing that as you breathe in, you're feeling the back ribs widening as you receive the inhalation. And softening with your out breath. And when you've had your 3 cycles of breath, you're then going to roll onto your back. And when you arrive on your back, just do whatever you want to start with. Obviously, if you need to put something if you need to put something warmer on, we're going to be doing a little bit of movement on our back, but we're starting to quieten down. Yes, socks, it's a very good idea. Blue jumper back on, Linda, is a good idea. So settle down on your backs and just, yes, whatever it is you want to do once you're on your back. So there might be a particular movement that your body, you think, oh, that's just what my body needs. Or it might just be quietening and feeling how it is to focus on your breathing, lying on your back. And particularly if you're not so keen on lying on your belly. And then once you've done whatever it is you want to do on your backs, you're going to organise yourself. So your knees are bent and your feet are standing on the floor. Good. And you could, yes, a few times, maybe just let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And then settle down in the center. We're going to, in a moment, come to bridge pose. So settle down in the center so you're no longer letting your knees tilt to the right and to the left. And just before we come to move into bridge pose, let your head roll to the right and to the left. And just check how the back of your neck feels. If it feels that it could feel a bit longer, you can pick up your head in your hands and gently lengthen out the back of your neck. But don't sort of pull on your head. That's it. Okay. And then what I'd like you to do, just very sort of simply and quietly in your own time, is maybe 3 times to roll up and down into bridge pose. So how does it feel to sink down into your footprints, to let the pelvis come away from the floor and some of your vertebrae? Good. We're opening through the front of the body. That's nice. And then you can roll back down again. When we come down, as you know, that's the time when we try to just sort of place the vertebrae down one by one, particularly in the lower back. And as you roll up and down, just keep letting your breath flow in and out. Keep letting the shoulders rest onto the ground. Keep making sure as you are in bridge pose that the back of your neck still feels sort of long and relaxed. Very nice. Okay, make this your last bridge pose if the one that you're doing. I think that's probably 3. And for the last thing we're going to do, I want us to do a floor twist, and I'm going to give you a little choice. You can either do your floor twist by lying on your back, folding your knees into your chest and taking your knees down to the floor, or you can roll onto your side. And Nigel, I wonder whether rolling on your side would be more comfortable for you. So if you're coming onto your side, you've got your knees at a right angle to your body and you move your upper body, yeah? So if you're staying on your back, you move your legs off to the side. So just sort of choose which one you'd prefer to do. That's it. It's, and you know, we end up being the same sort of movement. So Sheila, yeah, fold your knees into your chest so your feet are off the floor. And then, yeah, if you're starting on your back, you're supporting your knees with one arm, the other arm's on the floor at shoulder height. Nigel, you might want to cushion under the side of your head if you're doing it on your, it looks fine to me, but I'm just, yeah, if you're doing it from your side, you're keeping your knees bent at a right angle to your body, and you're rolling from the side of your head towards the back of your head. You might let your top knee lift up a bit. Good. So Linda, Sheila, your knees go the other way. That's it. That's it. Good. So you keep your shoulder down and your knees go in the opposite direction. Good. That's it. So I think we're all, so basically you end up in the same place. You've got one shoulder is heavy, the knees are heavy on the other side of your body. You might let your head roll towards the heavy shoulder, the outstretched arm side, because that helps the shoulder settle down. Good. And it's fine if your top knee is lifting up a bit. If it is lifting up a bit, you can always slide a cushion under it if you've got one to hand. Or you could even fold it into your chest. That's it, Emma, and support that sort of top knee with your hand a little bit. Thank you, Aditi, for helping out Nigel with a cushion. Okay, so just have a couple more breaths on this first side of the twist. And I'm just giving these 2 options because, you know, I think sometimes this twist can be a little bit challenging. So have another breath or 2 on this side. And then if you started on your back, you roll your knees back to the center. So you come onto your back. If you started on your side, just take your time to roll onto your other side. Yes, and if that's it, Sheila. So swap your arms over if you're on your back. So you've got your other arm on the floor at shoulder height. You're supporting your knees. Aditi, keep your knees a bit closer into your chest. So you want to pick your feet off the floor. That's it. Pick your feet off the floor and support your knees with your arm. Good. That's it. And then if you're rolling, that's it, Nigel. You might have the cushion under your head to start with, and then you might find you want to then move the cushion in between your knees. So hopefully we all end up in a place where we've got our knees down on one side and our shoulder dropping down on the other side. We can let our head roll in the direction of the shoulder, the heavy shoulder, and the outstretched arm. Good. We have a couple of breaths here. Good. And so our intention in our floor twist is like so much in yoga that can we soften, can we release as we continue to stay in it? And sometimes this isn't the case. So if you're feeling, oh, I'm just hanging on, actually I'm getting more tense, then maybe that's the time to come out. Yeah, exactly, Aditi. Or roll onto your side or adjust it in some way. And then we'll come back to the center, back to lie on our backs finally. So just sort of settle. Good. And any little movement you want to do. So it's now just time to lie with a blanket, being warm, just for 2 or 3 minutes of quiet breathing. So of course, if there's anything that would help you to settle, any little movements, you can have your legs long or your knees bent. It can always be really helpful to bring your hands to rest on the front of your body to help you gather your attention into your breathing. And as much as possible, let the weight of your body settle on the ground. So your muscles can quieten and let go. Allow yourself to be supported by the ground. Feeling your breath flow in, feeling your breath flow out. So maybe have another couple of cycles of breath where you gather your attention into your breathing. We've got that sort of focused concentration on the breath. And then from there, just let your awareness widen out a little bit, be a bit more expansive. So you could let your awareness travel down to your fingers and your toes. You could maybe sense the skin of your face, maybe your neck, maybe the back of your hands. You could be aware of the ground beneath you, the air around you, the light, noises both near and more distant, the presence of animals, other people in the room, in your house, in the streets beyond. The movement of thoughts, images, feelings within us. And the sound of the singing bowl. So thank you, everyone.